Arne Slot is officially sacked. Andoni Iraola versus Arne Slot. He's going to funnel the play to one side of the pitch. Look out for high presses. Right, hello everybody, welcome back to the Golden Sky. I'm Tom, and today we are finally talking about all of the news that is breaking around Liverpool. Arne Slot has been sacked on the weekend. Andoni Iraola is going to be Liverpool's new manager. It is all but officially confirmed by the club itself. We have lots to talk about today, and we will talk about all of that today. There is a lot more excitement within me to talk about Liverpool than there was just over a week ago in the final video of the season after the Brentford game. Today we're going to talk about Arne Slot. We're going to talk about Andoni Iraola in much more detail. We're going to look at some tactics. We're going to look at stats. We're going to watch a video or two together. Loads and loads to dive into today. Lots of talking. I hope you are ready to enjoy, just chill out with me, listen to what I've got to say. I really appreciate that you guys wanted this video. I just needed the time to make it. I am extremely busy at the minute. This probably is the last video ever in this house. More about that at the end. But before we start and we dive into Slot's sacking, a few little bits of news coming from the club or around the club that I wanted to just acknowledge. First of all, some really sad news. Kevin Keegan and Kenny Dalglish, both with really sad cancer updates. Keegan has stage 4 cancer, and Dalglish announced announced today that he has cancer as well. So really, really sad. Obviously, two absolute legends, and Dalglish actually came in to replace Keegan once upon a time at Liverpool. So thoughts to them, hoping and only wishing them the best with both their battles with that really, really sad news. Some more sad news, but not quite on that same level, more in a football sense. Ibrahima Konate is leaving Liverpool on a free transfer. I don't know how I feel about this one. Disappointed to see him go for free, especially. And I do think Konate was a decent player, like quite good sometimes, more often than he was not good. But he was the birth of the full Rhino. Saying, if you watched any of my ratings this year, you'll know what that means. Bit thin at centre-back. That's all I'll say. A little bit worried there. Just Van Dijk, Gomez, Leone and Xhaka as our only 4 centre-backs currently that are going to be here next season. So we'll see. We'll talk about that more in a transfer video. This is just quick-fire news to start the video off. One more thing before we start talking about Arne Slot and Iraola is that in the description of this video, right at the top, there will be a survey link. I've been talking about this in videos towards the end of the season. If you guys could please just spare 2 minutes, 5 minutes of your day, go click the link to the survey. Do it now or do it at the end of the video, whenever. It's just a couple of questions from me to you guys about the channel this year, going forward, how I can improve it. I would really, really appreciate all of your feedback. Please go and just fill it out, submit it, and I'll look at everyone's answers and go from there. It's only a couple of questions long, I promise. It won't take too long. If you can go and click that, it would help me out massively. So thank you so much for anyone who does that. That will be right at the top of the description, like I said. Anyway, should we get into the main topic of today's video now that the housekeeping is out the way? Let's do it. And let's start off with the big breaking news on Saturday. Arne Slot is officially sacked from Liverpool Football Club. Where were you when you found out? That's what I want to know. Where were you when Arne Slot was sacked? Well, I say sacked. That word has not been used. It's been a parting of ways that's been used. He's been sacked, guys. He has. But I personally had just gone for a run, and I decided to, when I got back from my run, have a little look at the news. And I saw that, and my head fell right off. It rolled right down the hill I just ran up, and I could not believe it. I shared the news to my family. I was first to break it, and it was pandemonium in the group chat. I don't know about all of you lot, but that's how I found out, and it was excitement flowing through my veins that I haven't felt since the signing of Alexander Isak, or maybe Chiesa's winner on the first day of the season. But Arne Slot is going. He has gone. Well, he's not going. He's gone. Along with Sipke Hulshoff, the assistant, Giovanni van Bronckhorst and Ruben Peters, who were both coaches. Peters was a fitness coach at Liverpool this season. So the Dutch cohort is going. Let's talk about Slot first of all. Like I said, parts ways. After 113 games in charge of Liverpool, 66 of those were wins, 18 draws, 29 losses, which leaves him with a points per match of 1.91, which actually puts him fourth all time in the best win percentage of all Liverpool managers ever in the history of Liverpool Football Club. Which is pretty insane considering the season he had. Obviously, a very small sample size, 2 seasons, and a very contrasting 2 seasons. He'll be one of the most polarizing or polarizingly remembered managers ever in Liverpool's history, in my opinion. For anyone interested, he is behind William Barclay and John McKenna, who were Liverpool's first ever managers when we were founded. Like a joint sort of deal going on there. Jurgen Klopp in second place and Kenny Dalglish in first place. Slots in at fourth. I think we can all agree the first season was amazing. It exceeded all of our expectations. 25 wins, 9 draws, 4 losses for 84 points in the Premier League. Fantastic season. Won the league at a canter. Had it wrapped up with many, many games to go. And we're all over the moon. And I certainly didn't think that a year later I'd be talking about him being sacked and that I'd be happy about it. I thought we were ready to build the dynasty. The signings we made in summer and all that. We'll get into what went wrong later in the video, of course, but this season it certainly did go wrong. 17 wins, 9 losses, 9 draws, and 12 losses for only 60 points. So Arsenal, for reference, won the league this year with 85, and Jurgen Klopp, in his first full season, got 60. Finishing in 8th place, which is might have been not his first full season. That might have been his first season in general when he took over from Rodgers early on in the year. Finished 8th. Obviously had the Europa League run in that as well. But 60 points matches Slot's total. We obviously finished 5th this year and got Champions League, so it shows the league standard has maybe shifted a little bit. But it was an appalling season, and if you want to know if I'm happy or not that Slot has gone, the answer is yes, I absolutely am. I am thrilled. Not because he's gone as a person, but he had to go. He'd lost the fans. He seemingly had lost the dressing room as well. It was not getting any better. It was getting worse. And it's the correct decision to make before we go into a new season with him as manager. Now, he released a statement as well. It was an excellent statement, I think, following his dismissal. I won't read it all, but I will read the end because I thought it was really, really good, to be honest. He said, "Change is part of football, but I know that this club will continue to make its people proud." Great ending there to a guy who I really do believe is a genuinely good fella. Like, I don't have any ill will towards Arne Slot. He's received a lot of unfair, genuine abuse over the last few months. Like, of course, we've all made fun of him on the channel. We've all voiced our opinions on this channel, me included. But genuinely, I do think Arne Slot is a good guy, and I'm gutted that it didn't work out for him. I would have loved for him to have been able to turn it around, but it was just getting worse and worse, and the fans were getting more and more full of vitriol and then apathy. And I certainly had the apathy towards the end of the season. Just genuinely didn't want to watch, didn't have the excitement. And that's dangerous. You've got to replace the manager at that point when the fans are all turning on you in that sense. It's a shame it didn't work out, but some of my favourite Slot moments, I will just quickly mention. Look, we'll start at the start. The interview after we beat United 3-0. I believe this was his 3rd game in charge in the Premier League. Went to Old Trafford and we smashed them 3-0. And it was like, oh my God, what have we got here? He gives this interview after the game. He's in front of Roy Keane and Daniel Sturridge. And they asked him, how did you do it? How did you beat United today? And he just lays out the most detailed description of how he dismantled the Manx you've ever seen. And I remember watching that and my jaw being on the floor thinking, oh my God, who have we got here? Now, the contrast to this season is alarming. I don't know how we've fallen so far, but we have. Another highlight was beating Real Madrid twice and Man City in the same week in one of those occasions. Fantastic week that was. Great results against Real Madrid. We beat them both Slot seasons at home. Fantastic. I mean, great memories, moments of games that I'll remember great moments from. definitely on my list of Slot good memories. Also, a funny one when he went absolutely berserk after Darwin Núñez made a foul against Chelsea, or made a challenge and the referee thought it was a foul. And there's a video of Darwin like losing his mind and Slot's like this on the bench, clutching his big bald skull. Look, they were great moments, but ultimately, I think the best moment, and I think you'll all agree, is the title-winning game against Spurs. The one where we clinched it. You could say maybe the trophy lift on the final day was also amazing, and I sort of, in my mind, meld them together. But winning that title in front of the fans, it was unbelievable, and the first and only time in my life I've experienced that as a Liverpool fan, and I'm 24 years old, so amazing moment, and we'll forever be so grateful for number 20 from Arne Slot, and I think everybody should remember that. And when we think of Arne Slot, that's how we should remember him and view him as a Liverpool manager, is that he wasn't the one who brought us this hellish season, but instead he was the one who brought us so much joy in the year that we did actually win the title in his first year. He also deserves a lot of credit, and this needs to be said, for the way he handled the death of Jota in summer. It can't have been easy to be that high after winning the title, be that excited and have such happy moments, and then just a few days before you're due to join up after your celebrations all summer long with the squad for pre-season for your next year to defend your title, that one of your star players, one of your senior players, any player, but player like Jota, to die in the circumstances that he did, it must have just been absolutely heartbreaking. And I think he handled that situation fantastically. Everything he said around the time I remember being really impressed with, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think everybody should be grateful for him, grateful to him for that as well. So definitely deserves credit for that. But he has gone. Why has he gone? Well, there's been a lot of quotes coming out about why Arne Slot has been sacked. So I've collated them all here. Very interested in some of them. We've all speculated all season long about different things, why Liverpool aren't doing well, what's maybe going on behind the scenes. Maybe we're putting the pieces of the puzzle together now that he's gone. So I'll read a few. This is quotes from David Lynch's article. Keeping players fit was due to the lower intensity training. So this is talking about something we admired about Slot, apparently, was at Feyenoord he kept players fit, but it turned out that was actually the superpower of doing that was due to lower intensity training, which we sort of found out this year. Bit alarming that our analysts couldn't figure that out when we maybe went for him. And I think we all saw that when we were knackered after 60 minutes this season. Ekatike could barely move after 60 minutes. Verts was cramping up every time he played 90. These are the new players, that didn't have the Klopp regime to get them up to speed. Last season, Isak took months to get fit and then got injured when he did. More quotes from Lynch, feeling that key details were being ignored, not just with fitness, but also set pieces. That's an interesting one. Obviously struggled a lot with set pieces this season, early on at least. Rarely paying attention to academy ongoings. That one for me is quite damning. There were feelings that he maybe didn't immerse himself with the academy so much. Rarely paying attention to academy ongoings is really alarming. And I think that would be something that at Liverpool would alarm people, staff, fans, owners, that kind of thing. And then Lynch mentioned also the lack of immersion in general, and he's talking things here. He mentioned about going on holidays and his family being in Holland. Now, I'm not here to blame him for not moving his family over here. He's got kids who are in school. I totally get that. But I do understand the not feeling like your manager is immersed in the city is a problem. It does have an effect. Think of like Rafa and Klopp, who embraced Liverpool and really embraced the city of Liverpool. They are beloved still by Liverpool fans, especially Klopp, obviously. But it did feel a little bit like, to me, like Slot saw Liverpool as a job. And whilst he understood the fan base, I don't think he saw them quite like as though I think he saw the fan base as a tool, but not that if he gave us the keys, we would let him drive the car. You know what I mean? That's the analogy that makes sense in my head. The fans run everything at Liverpool, and I think whilst he thought he could use them, he didn't think that they maybe ruled everything, and I think that's a problem. Paul Joyce said there was contract issues that eating away at players. Konate is an example, and it was not a happy group. There were tactical issues that emerged against certain setups. We all know that. Low blocks. How many times did I point that out this season on the tactics videos? Certain tactical issues. Concerns about identity and resilience. Conceding lots of late goals. Identity, we changed formation. A lot of times this season, it was difficult to say what style of play Liverpool had this season. It was. James Pearce said there was an inability to find solutions to teams' glaring weaknesses that was more significant in the final decision than any spats. I think that's a key one. Pearce saying there, and don't get me wrong, bad news Pearce is not the man that he used to be with Liverpool news, but he'll certainly have insight here. And he's saying that it's less to do with spats, so I'm thinking less to do with Mo Salah, that kind of thing here. Maybe other arguments with players behind the scenes. More to do with not being able to actually fix tactical issues on the pitch that led to his dismissal. 2 points from the last 12, a real highlight there. And there was a fear that things would turn toxic from the ownership if they stuck with him and it started badly next year. That's definitely what would have happened. And I think we all knew that. I think we were all fearful of that. And I certainly was not looking forward to the new season until Slot was gone. Because of that, I thought this is going to start poorly. The season's going to be over before it's even started. There's nothing to look forward to. We'll have a new manager by November. We have a new manager now. And it's June. Good work, Liverpool. There was questions, Pearce said, of playing Szoboszlai at right back. That new signings felt like new signings were given an easier ride and were more likely to retain their place if they didn't play well. That's interesting. Make of that what you will. Trainings and meetings contained fewer details, which was seen positively by some players, but the saved time and the more concise meetings didn't lead to any improvements, which is then a problem, you know. So lots and lots being called out there for being wrong. Finally, Chris Williams has done some quotes, and these were interesting ones I thought as well. Sources indicate Virgil van Dijk was forced to shoulder significant leadership responsibilities off the pitch, with Slot leaning heavily on the club's senior player group. Liverpool insiders felt several academy prospects have become frustrated under Slot, so more academy issues here. One source claims the handling of Tyler Morton played a part in the club accepting a significantly reduced fee. We've seen how good Morton's been at Lyon. We could definitely have used him this year. I am under no doubt that we couldn't have used him. He looks like a great player. If we'd have signed him this summer from Lyon and he was called Mortono and he was from Spain or, I don't know, Italy, we'd all be buzzing. But he's gone. Trainioni was also considering his future. Slot initially wanted Rio and Gamoa sent out on loan and did not see him as part of his immediate first-team plans. Concerns over Slot's approach to the young players were raised internally during the season and ultimately helped seal his fate. So Chris Williams there saying the academy was a huge part about why he has gone. FSG began sounding out potential managerial replacements months before the final decision, and this bit's really interesting. Listen to this. Initial contact was made with Cesc Fabregas in December, who has had an unbelievable year with Como in Italy, by the way, got him Champions League football, followed by first conversations with Iraola in February. That's interesting, and you might think, well, what about Xabi Alonso? Well, Xabi Alonso, according to Chris Williams, was ruled out in March due to demands for greater control over football operations than Liverpool were prepared to grant. Internal planning for a managerial change is believed to have accelerated at ownership level during the March international break, with poor results against Man City and PSG strengthening the case for action. So around that period again, where we were all sick and tired of this, was a real stressing point on Slot's time at Liverpool. So, yeah. Interesting quotes there. What I will say before I talk about Alonso and about Iraola is that I do not blame Slot entirely for everything that I've just read out. Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, FSG have to shoulder blame for this season. The set piece thing, they appointed Aaron Briggs, who was not a set piece coach, as set piece coach. That was a recipe for disaster by all the looks of things. You can't blame Arne Slot for that. The squad is not good enough. It's better than what Slot made of it, but it's not good enough to win the league. With the players that we sold and the players that we brought in, that's down to Slot. It's also down to Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, 100%. There is contract issues. That is not all on Arne Slot. That is on the hierarchy above him as well. Now, there's certain things there that are just on Slot, for sure, but we have to realise as fans here that sacking Arne Slot is not just going to magically solve everything. I promise you it's not. However, there's a man coming in by the name of Andoni Iraola, a sexy Spaniard from the Basque, who hopefully is going to give us all a new lease of life. So, let's talk about Andoni Iraola. Who the hell is this guy? Some of you might be saying, if you're not, tapped in to Bournemouth, to the Premier League, if you maybe only casually watch Liverpool, you might be thinking, who the hell is this guy? Well, let me tell you, and if you watch my videos all through the season, you'll have seen around the time when I thought Slot first should have been sacked, which was around the PSV drubbing and that horrible run, I was saying I would replace him with Iraola right now if he was sacked. I've said in summer, going back to the summer, there's videos, my early videos where I'm saying Iraola is a top manager and he will get a move to a big club. Turned out to be us. I'm very happy about this appointment overall. Before I start talking about him in detail, I personally am very happy about it. Now, I want everyone to temper their expectations. This is not going to be... I'll be very surprised if this is another Slot situation where he comes in and boom, we win the league, right? I think there's lots to do at Liverpool this summer. We'll talk more about transfers in another video. This one is more about managers. But Iraola is exciting. He's young, has a good philosophy, which we'll talk about in a second. Super impressed with what he's done at Bournemouth. Super impressed with him as a person from what I've seen at Bournemouth, at Rayo Vallecano. Spanish managers are notoriously good, and all the rage at the minute apparently as well. Alonso, Fabregas, Iraola, Guardiola leaving, of course, Luis Enrique. The Spaniards have got it going on at the minute. So, Mikel Arteta, should I mention him maybe as well? Unlucky mate. How's it going, Lego Ed? Listen, Iraola, 3 years at Bournemouth. First year finishes 12th. The next year, 9th. The year after that, this year, 6th. Gets Europa League. And who appointed Iraola at Bournemouth? The man, the myth, the legend himself, Richard Hughes. Good old Tricky Rick appointed this guy at Bournemouth. He's appointed him again here. So he knows what he's getting himself in for. Once again, this is his man, clearly. Finished 6th. An amazing season for Bournemouth. 57 points, only 3 behind us. With the smallest stadium in the league by far. And after losing Milos Kerkez to us, of course, Dean Howson to Real Madrid, Ilya Zabarny for PSG, to PSG, Kepa went to Arsenal, he was the goalkeeper, Django Utara went to Brentford, and they had Antoine Semenyo for half the season before he went to Man City and absolutely killed it. So, huge outgoing of top players, and an amazing return for a club like Bournemouth. What a performance from him. If you look at that in isolation, that is exciting. That is really, really impressive. Now, like I said, he's from the Basque, like Xabi Alonso from the Basque country. And I want to quickly touch on Alonso before we dive into Iraola so much in detail, but we must not fancy Xabi Alonso. And I say that because I've also read the quotes on Alonso there about him wanting more control, blah, blah, blah. That must be why we don't fancy him. We've had 2 opportunities now to go for him. First when we appointed Slot, and now again when we've appointed Iraola, and Alonso has gone to Chelsea and has the title of manager, by the way, I believe, at Chelsea, not head coach, which in this day and age is becoming a thing, apparently. If you're manager, you have more control. If you're head coach, you don't. It's a whole thing. Now, I believe that it's from maybe control. Edwards and Hughes wanting maybe more control still. Even Jurgen Klopp didn't have full control until 2022, when he'd earned, obviously, the trust and sort of beloved nature of the fan base by that point. But Alonso's football, for me, also plays a factor into why we are not appointing him. If you look at Alonso's football, and you look at Arne Slot's football and you're saying, I want someone who's more like Jurgen Klopp. Xabi Alonso is not the man. He isn't. Now, this is not to say Alonso's football isn't good and it isn't attractive and isn't maybe better than Arne Slot's, but it's certainly not aggressive, fast-paced, heavy metal football. It's more often than not a three at the back. That's what he played at Leverkusen. He played it at times at Real Madrid. There was fitness concerns in his second season at Leverkusen, especially second half of games, second half of seasons. For example, when he was sacked at Real Madrid, the first thing they did was hire the fitness coach that Alonso had got rid of again. So they brought him straight back in. The players obviously not happy with Alonso for many, many reasons in that crazy dressing room. But that's one of them. Now, I'm not saying that Xabi Alonso is a bad manager, and I'm certainly not saying that if we'd have appointed him, I would have been upset, because I wouldn't have been. I'd have been over the moon. But I'm saying these are reasons why the club might not have gone for him. Iraola's style, however, has been described as rock and roll in the past. Much closer to heavy metal than maybe the elevator music we were used to this season with Arne Slot. Now, let me give you some quotes from Iraola himself that back this claim up of him being more like the style that maybe the fans want and that we want to go back to as Liverpool. From a 2023-24 interview at Bournemouth, Iraola said this: "When 10 players are behind the ball, I don't feel very comfortable. We try to play with a fast rhythm. We don't want games to stop and don't have time to recover. We have to ask for the ball when you're tired. And if you are waiting to rest again for the ball or making the run, everybody can do this." So he's saying that he doesn't want people to, when they're tired, to want to rest and not want the ball and not make a run. He wants intensity, fast rhythm, don't want the games to stop, don't let teams have time to recover, don't have 10 men behind the ball. Instead, everyone can do this, right? What he wants instead, he says, if you're a Premier League player, and you are tired, this is the moment that you have to push the opposition who are also tired and try to break them. Now, that ending of that quote is exactly what I think all of you guys want to hear. Push the opposition when they're tired, when you're tired, keep pushing. I coupled this with an Antoine Semenyo quote about Iraola. When he came, he had his way of playing and it was very new to us. No days off, things like that. Playing on Saturday, training on Sunday. At first, the results weren't going our way, but then everything changed. We got used to the system, and after beating Burnley, they went right up from there. And he did have a bad start at Bournemouth, and they did then go on a great run after winning that game at Burnley. So there might be teething issues, there might be an adjustment period. We should all be ready to accept that and not reactionary. We don't want to become a club like, Arsenal, United out there who are kicking off at the manager every time we lose. We need to remember what we're doing, like Chelsea, sacking managers every 2 seconds. We need to remember where we are, remember the deficiencies we have, and let Iraola embed his style onto the players, especially at first. Something I thought was really interesting when I was researching him, and I'm not sure how many people have pointed this out, but Iraola actually played under Marcelo Bielsa for Athletic Club. So he played under him for 2 years. Marcelo Bielsa is as mad a guy in football as you can ever get. He's like the Mad Eye Moody of the footballing world. And if there's a manager who is more intense in his style than Jurgen Klopp, it might just be Marcelo Bielsa. Now, Iraola said that he uses a lot of Bielsa's exercises and clearly has taken a lot of Bielsa's philosophy into his managerial career. But it is important to make this clarification that he does not go man-to-man all over the pitch. He has said that himself. He might go man-to-man occasionally in some areas and sometimes, but Bielsa is man-to-man all the time, all game. Be super aggressive. Iraola, slightly less insane than the Bielsa style, but he did say that he wants to press high, be aggressive without the ball, a different kind of structure to Bielsa. That was his exact quotes. Now, this all reads fantastically, doesn't it? This is all exactly what we want to hear. I do have some reservations, though, and I will say these just to temper expectations a little bit. It's important to know Iraola currently manages Bournemouth and Vallecano before that, small clubs. Now, clubs who are not playing 3 games a week, they're playing 1 a week. They don't have a game in midweek. So how will his intense style adapt to that? you know, will he incorporate more days off to adapt to the schedule being more intense for players, or will it be just as intense as it's always been? Will the players have to get used to it? Will he then be able to manage the egos of these top players? Will they respect him enough? I'm hoping they will. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that the leadership still that remains at Liverpool, Van Dijk, Alisson and co, will pass on this sort of respect to the younger players who are there, and that we continue to sign good character players. Iraola has to demand that respect and use that to embed his style onto the players. Now he seems like an excellent man manager, more so than probably Slot did, and he also, I want to make this point as well, very very keen to immerse himself into the city, and I don't just say this for a laugh. At Vallecano, lots and lots of reports. You can go and read about them, about him being really in the culture. Obviously, he's in Spain here, so maybe this is a part of the package. He is Spanish, but around the local area, doing things, understanding the fans, understanding the club. Same at Bournemouth. Lots and lots of high praise I'm seeing from Bournemouth fans, and only good things that I'm really reading. I think if he can translate that to Liverpool, really get himself involved, get that bond up with the fans, the city of Liverpool, that is going to help massively with his appointment at Liverpool. So, I do quickly have some stats just to back up the comparison between what we're talking about here with Andoni Iraola versus Arne Slot, how their styles are different. And listen, guys, they are not complete polar opposites of one another. Slot's football this season, whilst it was utterly awful, did still score highly in certain metrics like pressing from the front. Unbelievably, we didn't do very well, but we still turned teams over in this area. We have good players. We have players who are good at this type of thing, like Soboslai and things like that. So, we still can do this. But that said, in the Premier League this year, I'm going to read you 6 stats that highlight the differences. So, Bournemouth and Liverpool. Duels won. Bournemouth 1,957, Liverpool 1,761. So 200 more duels won there pretty much by Bournemouth this season in the Premier League. That's huge. That is massive. Possession won. Bournemouth 1,725, Liverpool 1,453. So nearly 300 more times Bournemouth won possession. They are much more aggressive. The press is way more structured. They can win the ball back better. They can win more duels. It's much more organised, cohesive, that type of thing. We will touch on pressing structure in a second. 654 tackles. I think Bournemouth were like 3rd for tackles in the league. Liverpool were last in the league for tackles this season. 494. We did not tackle anybody in midfield, at the back, at the front. No tackles this season. It was shocking. Bournemouth, aggressive, combative. That's driven from the manager. It is. High turnovers. Bournemouth 298, Liverpool 285. So very, very high scoring there for both teams. Bournemouth slightly ahead. You see that style is still there. Turning teams over, high up the pitch, winning the ball back in the final third, which is the next stat. 174 times for Bournemouth they did this season. 155 for Liverpool. And fouls won in the final third. This is important as well. Maybe quick counter-attacks and teams having to bring a player down in that final third. 77 for Bournemouth, 69 for Liverpool. Think of the extra free kicks Soboslai might get this season. That's something to look forward to. So, stats look good. Quotes look good. Everything is looking nice and friendly about Andoni Iraola. Let me go and quickly take you to the tactics board, and I'm going to quickly show you what I think is his pressing structure from what I've seen, what I've analysed over the last few days. This will only be quick, and then we'll watch a little video of Bournemouth from this season. I'll run through some thoughts, and we'll finish off the video there. All right then, so here on the board, let's assume Bournemouth or Liverpool are the team in red, and we'll just have another team in blue as we've set up here. And this is going to show how, in my opinion, Iraola wants his team to press. Now, the key element of this, and I've lined both teams up in a 4-2-3-1. Not really important what formation the other team is playing. It could be a 4-3-3, which we see a lot more. In fact, I'll leave them in a 4-3-3 because we do see that from top teams this season. And Bournemouth have had great results against top teams this season. Think away at Arsenal, they've won. They got a draw against City, for example. They beat us. We struggled against the top teams, and they would just rip through us. and Bournemouth's results are a nice indicator for maybe us being better against those teams in those big games. So how do they press? Well, we know teams start with the ball at the goalkeeper, and teams will line up like this. They'll have centre-backs wide, they'll have full-backs high, they'll often have a midfielder and maybe two in here like this to come and show for the ball. You might have someone here, wingers will be high like this, and then you'll have full-backs sort of around this area like this. Maybe one will come inside like this to join up with the midfielder, and you'll send two players on like this, something like that. But let's set a team up like this. This is what I was seeing a lot of in build-up. I'm thinking Arsenal specifically, where you'd have Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, Zubamendi, Rice, that kind of thing. Or City, you'd have the two centre-backs, maybe Kusanov and whoever else plays centre-back for City. Gehi, let's say, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, that type of thing in this sort of box. So how will Bournemouth then line up? Well, it's often a 4-2-3-1, but it's kind of fluid. It can go 4-4-2, and it can even go 4-1-3-2, which is what I sort of see it as. So the striker is going to come, and he's going to press the goalkeeper, the first one. So this would be Evan Nielsen, or for us it'd be Ekatike or Isak. And again, it's very key. It's a curved run. So it's not a straight line run at the goalkeeper. It's a curved run. So they're often going to come from maybe this starting position. Let's move Bournemouth forward a little bit here. One thing to note, they go very, very high. Halfway line, I'm talking high press levels here. Squeezing the opposition right at the pitch. You'd see centre-backs being really aggressive in here on front men. Let's just give the other team two front men. You'd see really aggressive play. And the midfielders come up like this. Let's just move everyone forward a second. So your main striker would come, and the idea is he's going to funnel the play to one side of the pitch. That's the key. Bournemouth want to funnel the play wide. They will leave full-backs, centre-backs sort of open for passes until the ball goes there. They want to funnel the ball wide. So let's move, like, let's say this is your second striker or your attacking midfielder, maybe Wirtz for us. This striker is going to come, he's going to run, angle is run this way. So this pass can't happen. The ball can't go to this centre-back. You'll have one midfielder pushed right up, often in between the two players here. If there's two players sitting for the opposition, if there's just one, let's say there's one player gone forward, you will have right on his back. This player will be here, and you'll have a player right on his back. So he can't receive this ball and then move it away from the press. It's gonna, if this ball comes in here, it's gonna be really aggressive. There's gonna be hard challenges. You'll see that in the video in a second. Let's put this other player back in here, and let's move Bournemouth's players back to their positions. So you've got the midfielder splitting the difference here. So it's still hard to play this pass because you might be incepted, you might be under pressure. And this is your second striker. So now where does he go? The only plausible pass that the goalkeeper then has, if this is the pressing structure, it can't come in here because the second striker's here. It can't come in here. This player might press it, and it's a risky pass, and it can't go here. So you have to funnel the ball here, and that's exactly what Bournemouth want. That's exactly what they want. And now you'll see the winger will jump onto the fullback, the striker will move around, and then it's the second striker's job. He's the one who's going to go and then press this ball. And now the midfielder will move across, the striker will cut this pass off to the goalkeeper, and all of a sudden the opposition team is stuck in the wing. And do you see how they're stuck? This player can't move the ball inside. If that all moves fluidly, they can't move this ball inside here because the midfielder that was splitting the difference, he now knows where his marker is. He's got to go and get tight on here. If he's over here and this pass comes over, this ball can be bounced in here and he's too late, they can get out. It's all very well organised. The ball's going to come in. This will be a midfielder. And then you've got your holding midfielder. This is very key. One Bournemouth player is going to sit and hold, or one Liverpool player. That's something I've seen a lot. And that's why I call this a 4-1-3-2. You've got one sitting player. So now if the ball does, let's say City beat the press and the ball does come in here, maybe there's a front man that drops in here and the ball comes in. You've got protection still. You're not too exposed. You're not sending everybody forward. You're just being clever with where you are sending players forward. You've got a player filling in. The winger is cutting off the pass to the fullback. This is very tight and congested, and all of a sudden the opposition have to punt the ball long and they give the ball back. Now, Bournemouth didn't face a lot of sides who were sitting in low blocks, and their possession numbers weren't amazing this season, only around 10th in the league, 50 odd percent. So It's difficult to say whether Iraola is going to be amazing at breaking down low blocks, but certainly it looks like his pressing structure works against big teams, and that is a massive improvement if he can get that going with us. And that is how it works. It's all about splitting the pitch into two, funneling the play to one side, and then in a 4-1-3-2, 4-4-2 sort of style, fluidly pressing towards the wing to trap and force the other team long. Or, if the ball does come into the middle, be really aggressive and win it back high up the pitch. Let's go and watch a video, just a few minutes long, of Bournemouth's play from this year, and you're going to see much more of that, and I'll talk through it as it goes. Right, little compilation video here then of Bournemouth from this season, starting off with the game against us. I'm just going to let this play. I'm going to try not to pause too much and rewind. I will just talk as it goes. But you're going to see in this, look out for high presses, high turnovers, counter-attacks, fluid play, confidence in play, passing the ball forwards, not taking too much time on the ball, fluidity. That's what I want you to see. Let's watch. So, early on in the season, we obviously see Szoboszlai give the ball away, and look, Bournemouth straight away, get the ball wide, wingers, counter-attack, ball come across, there's your other winger, there's a goal. We saw this first game of the season. Another one, transition, Liverpool lose the ball, edge of their own box. This is shocking from Liverpool, as we pointed out. Let's not take that away. It doesn't take an amazing team to do this, but look how fast 4 players sprinting forward. They want to get at you. This is at Anfield. Great finish from Semenyo. Again here, look, Bournemouth just lost the ball. Look at this transition. Tyler Adams, aggressive, super aggressive into the tackle. Semenyo, players flooding forward. They get a deflection, they get a goal. Quick transition, quick turnover of possession, and they have another goal. Now, players around the box, can they play? This is a bit more build up. Lovely pass from the fullbacks. Strikers making moves, getting the channels, score goals. Really confident play. Now, corner for Fulham, counter attack. Can we counter? Can we be aggressive? Can we be quick on the break, ruthless? Yes, we can. Here comes Ben Doak. Remember him? Who's coming up along with him? Antoine Semenyo. Popped the ball in the net. Killed the game off. Transition again. Now, Bournemouth. Underlapping runs. Across the box, there's your striker. That's a classic top team goal. We score. City scored that goal for years. Win the ball high up the pitch against United. Immediately into the attack. Semenyo this time. Again, flies forward. No wasted motion. Arsenal pressing wide there. You see the press, force Arsenal into a mistake. Force them wide. Score a goal off that mistake. Ball bounced into the middle. So fluid. So confident in their moves. Great goal from Krupi. Again, players in the box, not afraid to put bodies forward. Good quality delivery there. Across the box, in it goes from Krupi again. But these transitions are reminiscent of an early Jurgen Klopp. They really are. And this is with Bournemouth's players who... Bournemouth have good players, but we should have better. Lovely slip ball to the fullback. And the fullbacks in Iraola's system are able to fly forward, but in a versatile way. It's not always an overlap. We've already seen an underlap in this video. We've seen them get involved in build-up during times this season with Bournemouth. I'm thinking Trufer here. He's not flying forward. He's actually dictating, from deep there with a nice pass into the box. Ryan, who looks like an amazing player, by the way. And no, we won't be able to get hold of him this summer. Roll across the face and heading the ball in. Ryan there with the header this time against Everton. You see Trufer, the fullback, providing that cross again. Variation in the fullbacks game, but overall very attacking. Here's the winger coming inside. Look how fluid this is here. Into the middle. Right, now we have a bit of space. What can we do? Team sat back against us here. Look at this. Little 1-2. Open up the body. Slotted in the corner. There's no wasted movement. There's no slow the game down. Let's try and be there pragmatic. Look, let's get the ball forward. Forward passes, really aggressive. Force the opposition into making a mistake. Maguire there. Red card. See you later, slabhead. And we'll convert the penalty. Really fast forward play against Arsenal. We've seen that goal many times already, just in this video alone. Again here, forcing Arsenal to kick the ball long, win it back. Now can we go? Can we counter? Can we make a transition? Run from midfield, lovely link up, forward vertical play again. Alex Scott, who I would love for us to sign, by the way, converts it. Ryan, super aggressive. Get it, your fullback. Get the ball across. You've got players crashing at the back post. Worked really well with a number of youngsters at Bournemouth. Look, there's Senesi, aggressive in midfield as your centre-back, winning the ball. No thought about going back or waiting around. It's just get the ball forward. Can we attack? Can we score? Yes, we can. Again, running from midfield, across the box, low crosses, convert the chance, another good goal. The ball comes wide. There's Bournemouth pressing, forced a mistake. Immediately into the attack. It's a common theme. Forward pass in behind the defence for the video. What are we seeing? Lots of vertical play, lots of quick transitions, lots of winning the ball back and quickly turning it into an attack. You could call that gegenpressing. I think for me, reads and watches a lot like an early Jurgen Klopp. Okay then guys, that is going to do it for today's video. That is everything you hopefully need to know about Arne Slot's dismissal and Andoni Iraola's arrival. We can dive more into transfers, things like that later in the summer. I hope you enjoyed today's video though, guys, and if you did, please do leave a like on the video. We're trying to get to 35 on all the videos. We are now in the summer period, so please do leave a like, get it out to more people ahead of the new season. Subscribe if you are new as well. We are still chasing 500 subscribers. Can we hit that before the season starts in summer? Reminder to do the survey, guys. If you haven't done so already, please do click the link and fill that out. That would be so helpful to me and hopefully to you guys as well. It's ultimately to make the content better for you all. So there you go. I am moving house on Friday, so this is probably the last video in this house. It has been insanely busy the last few weeks, days, whatever. So I'm very happy to have the time to make this video. I hope you did enjoy it. Please do let me know if you did. And I'll speak to you at some point soon, I promise. What that video will be, not sure as of yet, but I'm sure Liverpool will have something for us soon to talk about. Thanks for watching, everyone. Podcast listeners, thanks for listening. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.